Hello students, this is Professor C. Tanuja Bhatti from Jain College of Engineering, Belagavi. Today we will be seeing the revision of Module 2, Levy and Collection of Tax. Under Module 2, Levy and Collection of Tax, as per VTU syllabus it covers scope of supply, composite supply, fixed supply, levy and collection, composition levy, exemptions, person liable to pay tax and exemptions from tax. We also have simple problems on the value of taxable supply and GST levy. These problems we have already covered under IT problems module 2. Under that video lecture we have already covered these problems. Now let us see today the revision on the theory part. So let us revise the theory notes relating to module 2. So as we already know, Unit 2 Levy and Collection of Tax, it covers the below items. So first let us understand what is the meaning of supply. Because GST is a tax on the goods and supply of goods and services. So it is very important for us to know what is the meaning of supply. So supply means either it can mean sale, transfer, barter, exchange, lease rentals, disposal of any goods. So it means supply. It can also mean import of services with consideration or activity specified in Schedule 1, which is made whether with consideration or without consideration. Now, in order that a supply is qualifying under GST, there has to be 5 conditions that have to be fulfilled. So conditions to qualify as supply under GST. If you have to say that it is a supply under GST, it has to fulfill 5 conditions. So condition number 1 is there should be a supply of goods and services. Means if there is a supply, it has to be relating to goods or services. Next, it should be for a consideration. It should be in the course or furtherance of the business, and supply should be made by a taxable person who is registered under GST, and it should be a taxable supply, means on which GST is levied. Now, these are the 5 conditions. If all these 5 conditions gets fulfilled, then it means that it is a supply under GST. And once it is a supply, means GST will be leviable on that supply. Now, it should be for a consideration. Now, what if there is a supply of goods and services and it is without consideration? So, there is 4 exceptions to those cases. There are 4 exceptions that even if the supply is without consideration, yet it is going to be a supply under GST. And what if it is not made in course or furtherance of the business? So there is one exception to this, that even if the supply is not made in course or furtherance of the business, still it is going to be a supply under GST. So there is exception to only these 2. Next. So let us see the summary of the above. Supply includes supply with consideration in course or furtherance of the business, import of services with consideration whether or not in course or furtherance of the business, supply without consideration, and activities treated as supply of goods or services that are specified in Schedule 2. And supply excludes negative list, that is Schedule 3. So what government has told us, it has specified certain negative list. Negative list means a list of services which is, even if it is a supply, no GST will be leviable on those supplies because it is covered under the negative list as specified in Schedule 3. So first let us understand what is consideration. Now consideration means it includes payment. Consideration is nothing but payment that is made or to be made, whether in money or otherwise, for the supply of goods and services, whether by the person or any other person who is making the payment. So there are different types of consideration. That consideration is completely received in money, and consideration is not received in money, that is, it is received in kind. And consideration received through money, that is, though consideration is received, we are not going to treat it as a supply. So these three cases will be same. Now, consideration, supply without consideration. See, we know that out of the 5 conditions, one condition was that supply there should be a consideration, but we seen that there are 4 exceptions to that particular condition. So we'll be seeing those exceptions. That means that even if the supply is without consideration, still it is going to be deemed supply. So there are 4 such situations where even if there is no consideration, yet it is going to be treated as supply under GST, and GST is going to be leviable. That is permanent transfer or disposal of business asset on which ITC has been claimed. If there is any business asset which you are disposing it off or permanently transferring it off to someone on which you had already claimed ITC. See, ITC is claimed at the time of purchases. But suppose you have claimed the ITC and now the asset is become like it has become scrapped or you are disposing it off. So when you are disposing it off, even without consideration, yet it will be treated as supply under GST. Next, supply between related person or distinct person. We know what is related person, we know what is distinct person. Related person, it may be member of the same family, it may be the directors of the same company, office of the same company, legally recognized partners. And distinct person means the same person having different businesses in different states under the same PAN. So he will be having different GST and registration numbers, so they become distinct person. So if there is any supply between a related or distinct person which is without consideration, yet it is going to be treated as supply under GST and GST is going to be levied. Next, supply between principal and agent in the course or furtherance of the business, even if it is without consideration, yet GST is going to leave it. Now, what is agent? Agent is a person who acts on behalf of the principal. That is, either he is going to procure the goods on behalf of the principal or he is going to sell goods on behalf of the principal. So, if there is any supply between principal and agent, even if it is without consideration, yet GST is going to be leviable because it will be treated as a supply under GST. Importation of services in course or furtherance of the business. Suppose you're importing certain services from outside India without consideration, but such services are being procured from outside India in relation to your business. Even if it is without consideration, it will be treated as supply under GST. So the same things have been explained here. Next, activities treated as supply of goods or services, that is schedule 2. Now, sometimes it is very confusing whether a particular transaction is a supply of goods or supply of services. We have seen the difference between goods and services. Goods means any kind of movable property, and services is anything other than goods. So, many a times in transactions we get confused whether it is supply of goods or services. So, here there are certain transactions, and whether it is a goods or services, it is being specified. So we'll just take few handpicked. Suppose there is a transfer of goods with the transfer of title. So goods is getting transferred along with the title. So it is called supply of goods. Suppose it is a construction of complex building civil structure. Then it means that is a supply of a service. Renting of immovable property is nothing but a supply of service and not supply of goods. Agreeing to obligation to refrain from an act or tolerate an act, it is a supply of services. So here there is a few list of activities and it has been defined whether it is a supply of goods or supply of service. Next, negative list. And as I already told you all, negative list means it is a list of those services on which GST will not be applicable and it will not be treated as supply. So there are certain list. So the list is services by an employee to an employer. Now when an employee is giving a service to an employer, GST is not levied. Services by court or tribunal, GST is not levied. Functions, duties performed by MPs, MLAs, GST is not levied. Services of funeral, GST is not levied. Sale of land subject to schedule 2, GST is not levied. Actionable claim other than lottery, betting, Gambling, GST is not levied. Activities or transactions, any activities or transactions that will be notified by the government to be a part of the negative list, that means GST will not be levied on such transactions or list. Next, let us see what is composite and mixed supply. Now, composite supply means where there are, pay attention here. What composite supply means where there are two or more taxable supplies, okay, which are naturally bundled. Now, when I say naturally bundled, means it is bundled together in the ordinary course of the business. So, let us take an example. Now, when we go to purchase a mobile phone in the shop, along with the mobile phone, we get a complete kit where we have charger, we have headphones, we have extra battery. So now, when your primary intention is to purchase the cell phone, your intention was not that you needed a earphone and that is why you purchased cell phone. So your main purpose was to purchase cell phone, but along with the charger was supplied and other accessories were supplied. Now, when the billing is made by the supplier, what rate of GST he'll charge, whether the rate applicable to the charger, whether the rate applicable to the cell phone, or whether the rate applicable to the earphone. So here in composite supply, always keep in mind that the rate will be applied based on the rate applicable of the principal supply. Now, what is the meaning of principal supply? The main supply. So, what is mainly, for what purpose did you mainly go there? To purchase a cell phone. What the shopkeeper is selling you? The cell phone. This charger, earphones, battery, all these are in conjunction with each other. They are naturally bundled. So, remember, composite supply is a supply of two or more taxable supply, but they are naturally bundled. So the rate of tax will be the rate of principal supply. So the shopkeeper will charge the GST rate that is applicable on the cell phone to the entire bundle. Next, what is mixed supply? Mixed supply is where two or more individual supplies of goods and services are bundled, but they are not naturally bundled. They are sold as a single price. They are purposefully got together. See, when you seriously go to buy a cell phone, you will by default get that. So they are naturally bundled. But in mixed supply, they will not be naturally bundled. There will be, suppose during the time of Diwali or any festive season, you usually have gift packs. When you go to any mart, you usually have gift packs where you have chocolates, dry fruits, candies. There's a combo pack made. So this combo pack is being made out of different supplies they have brought together. It is not that without chocolates you cannot sell dry fruits, but they have been brought together. So they're not naturally bundled. So they are independently supplied together. So what will be the rate applicable for that entire combo? Like dry fruit will be having a different rate of GST, chocolates will be having a different rate of GST, but they are given as a single pack. So what will be the rate of GST that will be applied? The rate of GST will be the rate applicable to the supply that attracts highest rate of tax. Now in that entire combo, whichever product is having the highest rate of tax, that same rate of tax will be applicable to the entire supplies in that particular combo. Suppose dry fruit is having the highest rate of tax, so suppose that particular rate will be even charged to chocolates, biscuits, candies, all other stuff. So remember, composite supply is naturally bundled and mixed supply they have bring it together, so they're not naturally bundled. Remember, in composite supply the rate will be the rate applicable to the principal supply, and in case of mixed supply the rate applicable will be to that supply that attracts the highest rate of tax. Next, let us see levy and collection of tax. We've already seen in module 1 that CGST is levied on the interstate transaction or supplies of goods and services, or both. SGST, UTGST is charged on the interstate sale or union territory sale of supplies of goods and services, or both. IGST is charged on the interstate. CGST and SGST is charged on the intrastate. CGST, SGST is charged on the intrastate transactions, whereas IGST is charged on the interstate supplies of goods and services. Now, collected and paid by. Tax is collected and paid by always a taxable person, And what are the supplies that is outside the purview of GST is alcohol for human consumption. It is not within the purview of GST. That is, GST is not applicable for alcohol for human consumption. And there are 5 petroleum products like crude oil, diesel, aviation turbine fuel, which are outside the scope of GST. So these are the 5 products which are outside the scope of GST. Crude oil, high speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas, and aviation turbine fuel. Next, let us see what is composition levy. Now, quickly I'll just tell you what is composition levy is. We know that every person who is providing services and his turnover exceeds 20 lakhs, and it is 10 lakhs in the case of northeastern states, so they have to compulsory take registration under GST. Once they have taken registration, means they need to comply with all the GST provisions. Similarly, who is providing goods, if their turnover exceeds 40 lakhs, and in case of northeastern states, if the turnover exceeds 20 lakhs, they need to mandatorily get themselves registered under GST. Once they are registered under GST, that means they have to comply with all the provisions relating to GST. But there may be certain businesses whose turnover, though being more than 40 lakhs in case of goods and though being 20 lakhs in case of services, they are still small taxpayers and they may not be in the position to comply with so many provisions relating to GST. So government has come up with a special levy for them, that is composition levy. So what does composition levy means? Those small taxpayers whose turnover in the preceding financial year is up to 1.5 crore, means though it is above the registration limit but it is below 1.5 crores, they have been given an option for registering under composition levy. So if they opt for being registered as a composition levy, what will be the benefit? The benefit is that they need not raise any tax invoice. Means whenever they are issuing bill, they need not charge GST in their bill. And what they will issue is bill of supply. And apart from that, they need to pay GST at the rate of, like we know that the rates of GST are 5%, 12%, 18, 28%. But those who are opting for composition levy, who can opt for a composition levy? Only those whose turnover is less than 1.5 crores in the preceding financial year. So suppose if it is a manufacturer other than manufacturer of the goods specified by the government, the rate of tax that they need to pay to the government is 0.5% of the turnover in the state or union territory. Now, if it is restaurants who are not serving alcohol, so 2.5% of turnover in the state or union territory. So this comes around 1%, that is 0.5% CGST, 0.5% SGST. This come around 5%. So 2.5% CGST, 2.5% SGST. And traders of goods, including traders of ice cream, pan masala, tobacco, they need to pay 0.5% of turnover of taxable goods in the state or union territory. That is 0.5% 0.5% of CGST and 0.5% of SGST. So what is the benefit of composition levy? The benefit of composition levy is that the compliances are being reduced, the taxes that they need to pay, and when any supplier is registered under composition levy, the taxes that they need to pay to the government is reduced. They will not charge any GST from the customer when they are selling goods. So this is applicable only to those whose limit exceeds the registration limit but is below 1.5 crore in the preceding financial year. Next is exemptions. Now, what do I mean by exemptions? See, exempt supply means one thing you need to know, that exempt supply means either a nil rate of supply. Nil rate of supply means zero rate of supply. There is no tax on that. Then second, which is wholly exempt from tax, means on that GST is not leviable only, and it also includes non-taxable supply. Non-taxable supply, like you can say alcohol for human consumption and 5 petroleum products. So always remember, exempt supply means nil rate of supply, supply on which are wholly exempt from tax, and which also includes non-taxable supply. Now when government wants to give exemption on a particular, now suppose today There is no exemption. For example, there is no exemption on unbranded rice. So tomorrow if the government wants to bring exemption, how it can do? So it can do either by a notification or by special order. Now let us see certain goods that are exempt from tax. Like unbranded atta, maida, besan are daily needs and requirements, necessities like foods, milk, eggs, curds, lassi, fresh vegetables. They all are exempt from tax. And services that are exempt from taxes, you have a list of services here specified that are exempt from tax. So we just take few uh, like charitable and religious related activities. We have healthcare services, education services, where GST is not applicable. When you pay fees, your college fees, do you pay GST? No, because education services are exempt from GST specifically. Next, let us see who are the persons liable to pay GST. Who has to pay GST? First of all, every person who is registered has to pay GST. Now, what is the registration limit? Now, in case if it is services, if any person's aggregate turnover in the financial year exceeds 20 lakhs in case of services and 40 lakhs in case of goods, have to mandatorily get themselves registered. And in case of goods, it is 40 lakhs. But if the service providers are from northeast special category state, that is northeastern states, then it is 10 lakhs and 20 lakhs. Next, so first these category of persons have to mandatorily get themselves registered, and if they're registered they have to liable to pay GST. Now second category is any person who was previously registered under any act, maybe under VAT, under service tax, under excise, so he is by default be registered under GST, and once he is registered under GST means he is liable to pay GST tax. The third one is where the business is carried on by a taxable person who is registered and he is transferring his business. So if he is transferring the business, the successor will be registered to be liable under GST, and if he is registered means he is a person liable to pay GST. Next is any person because maybe any company under the scheme of demerger amalgamation that is under the order of a high court. If yes, then he is liable to get himself registered and he is liable to pay taxes. Now we are saying aggregate turnover. Here we said that the aggregate turnover in the financial year should exceed 20 lakhs in case of goods and 40 lakhs in case of 20 lakhs in case of services and 40 lakhs in case of goods. Then he needs to get himself registered. Notice this aggregate turnover. Aggregate turnover will include taxable supply, exempt supply, export, interstate supplies of person having the same PAN be computed all India basis. Suppose if I have a business in Belgaum, I have a business in Pune. So my both the businesses together, the value of it exceeds 40 lakhs, then I need to get myself registered under GST. So you have to see in pan India basis. I just can't see the turnover of Belgaum. I need to see the turnover of in pan India basis. Different states where I have my business units, all the total of the turnover has to be added to deciding on the factor that whether registration is required or not. But while calculating the amount, you need not include the amount of the GST taxes, and you need not include the amount of those taxes on which you are paying the tax on reverse charge. So let us see the summary of the above. Like first we saw that there are 5 points for the persons who are liable to pay GST. There are totally 5 points. So first of all, whose turnover exceeds 20 lakhs in case of services and 40 lakhs in case of goods, and then special category states whose exceeds 10 lakhs in case of services and 20 lakhs in case of goods, they need to get themselves mandatorily registered. Now second is any person who is already registered in the earlier act shall be liable to be registered under GST Act. Third is in case of transfer of business. So if the business has been transferred and the registration is already taken from the date of transfer or succession. Fourth one, in case of amalgamation, scheme of amalgamation demerger under the order of a high court. And fifth one is, what is aggregate turnover? Means all supplies made by a taxable person, whether by on his behalf or on the behalf of his principal. Now this threshold limit, what I'm telling, that 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 40 lakhs, this in subsection 1, it has been amended. So states with threshold limit of 10 lakhs or both, 10 lakhs for both goods and services is Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura. So if any supplier is providing goods or services from the place of Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura and his turnover exceeds 10 lakhs, means they need to get mandatorily registered. Next, second column, states with threshold limit of 20 lakhs for both goods and services. So suppose if any supplier belongs to Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Puducherry, Telangana, then if his turnover exceeds 20 lakhs for both goods and services, then he needs to get himself mandatorily registered under GST. Next, in case of states with threshold limit of 20 lakhs for services and 40 lakhs for goods, this is our general rule. So where if they are belonging to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, Assam, Himachal Pradesh and any other state, leaving this states, if any other state is belonging, then you have to see the limit of 20 lakhs and 40 lakhs. 20 lakhs in case of services and 40 lakhs in case of goods. If it is exceeding, then he needs to get himself mandatorily registered under GST. So we have completed the theory notes revision for module 2. Thank you, students. We have completed the revision of module 2. Thank you so much.